Hey, Book Dragons, I'm so glad you joined me today. I'm going to be talking about 10 characters that I find very mysterious, and I am going to do a top 10 countdown of sorts for these. And some of these characters are from book series that I have not finished yet, others are from series I've completed. So it's kind of all over the place, right? So I'm going to get my eyes on here and we're going to move on. The first one I'm going to talk about comes from the Second Apocalypse series by R. Scott Baker, and this is Anasarimbor Kellis. Kellis is a monastic warrior who is extremely powerful in the arts of logic and reason and manipulation, and really to a gifted level. So it's very much a magic for him. I find his character extremely mysterious. I've only read The Darkness That Comes Before so far, and we don't really learn a whole lot about Kellis in that first book. I have no doubt that as the series goes on, I'm going to learn more about him. But as of right now, he's just extremely intriguing. There's a whole lot of things that I don't know, and I kind of wonder if I'm going to fully comprehend who he is and what he's like by the end of the series, even. It seems like there's a lot of layers to his character, and I'm looking forward to peeling those back. Anasarimbor Kellis comes in at number 10. Number 9 is Anamander Rake, and he is the Lord of Moonspawn in the world of the Malazan Book of the Fallen. He has to be my favorite character so far in the Malazan world, and I've only read about him in Gardens of the Moon and in the first half of Memories of Ice, because I haven't finished Memories of Ice. I put it on hold for quite a while now, and I need to go back and finish it. But he is a really interesting character to me, another character that has a lot of layers, and he's a hard one to understand, especially when it comes to discovering where his loyalties lie, if he even has any loyalties. And he has a mysterious sword that is also a portal to a hellscape, which I just find really fascinating as well. And so I want to learn as much as I can about Anamander Rake, and that probably means I'm going to have to go back and finish the Malazan Book of the Fallen, but I don't know how soon that's going to happen, but I do want to at least give it another shot, because I've really struggled with that series. So I'm going to move on here to Galbatorix. Number 8 is Galbatorix from The Inheritance Cycle by Christopher Paolini. Now, I have completed this series, and so Galbatorix isn't necessarily a mystery to me anymore. But throughout the majority of The Inheritance Cycle, Galbatorix is this enigmatic terror that threatens the world of Allegasia. And it's very clear throughout the series that he's a formidable enemy, and as we get closer and closer to the end, we learn some more things about him, and we eventually get to see him in action. So I would highly recommend The Inheritance Cycle if you're interested in it. Don't let the fact that it's a young adult series put you off. It's definitely a series that can be enjoyed by adults as well, and I found Galbatorix really interesting. Coming in at number 7, we've got Randall Flagg. And Randall Flagg is an antagonist in several Stephen King books, and he takes different forms, different names. He is a recurring character that pops up in a few different places in the Kingverse. I have only read about him in the Dark Tower series and in The Stand, and I honestly kind of felt like the resolution in The Stand was a little bit lackluster when it came to him, but he's still a really fascinating character to me, and it's not really clear exactly what his origins are, where he came from. It's assumed that he is a character that kind of represents the devil. It's just really fascinating to see how his character develops in these different stories. And I know he pops up in a few other King books, so I'll probably encounter him again at some point. But yeah, Randall Flagg comes in at number 7 on this list. Number 6 is The Authority from His Dark Materials. And this is a series that I have finished. I have not read the prequels, but I did read the core 3 books in the series. Oh, you're getting down all right? Okay, all right. I read the core 3 books in the series, and it's a really great story. I highly recommend reading His Dark Materials. And the Authority is the god figure of this world, and he's deified by most of the different portal worlds that exist in and around this particular world. And the more you go throughout the story, you learn things about dust, you learn things about human agency, and as you get to the end, you do find out about the Authority and what he's really like. It's really wild. The ending of this series blew me away because I was not expecting it at all. So I highly recommend the series. I hope you'll check it out. The Authority is an extremely mysterious figure that warrants having those mysteries uncovered. All right, so we're going to move on to number 5. And number 5 is The Fool from the Realm of the Elderlings series by Robin Hobb. Specifically, The Fool has a major role in the Farseer trilogy, in the Tawny Man trilogy, and in the Fitz and the Fool trilogy. However, he does have roles in other places, and we're not going to go into details there. He is very mysterious, specifically in his origins. It's really hard to pinpoint where the Fool comes from, what kind of being he is. It's kind of clear that he's somewhat of a mixed race of sorts, and he has some magical powers, but it's not really clear exactly where he comes from. We learn little bits and pieces along the way throughout the story, but it seems like with every answer we get about the Fool, we just end up with more answers. And that's what I love about his character. I love characters like that in general, where you really have to pay attention, read throughout the entire series to figure out where his character is going. The Fool comes in at number 5 for me, and he's one of my absolute favorite characters in fiction. I personally think Robin Hobb is just a master storyteller, and I really love The Fool. One of the best characters in fiction, in my opinion. Coming in at number 4, we have Gandalf from the Lord of the Rings trilogy. There are various different theories about Gandalf. None of them, I don't think, have ever necessarily been fully confirmed, although there is one that is fairly likely, and that is that he is also known as Oloran, and he is one of the Maiar, which they are an ancient race among the angelic beings of Valinor. But again, Gandalf is extremely mysterious through the entire Lord of the Rings series, and he continues to be mysterious. I don't think we ever really learn all that is possible to learn about Gandalf. And I've read the Silmarillion. That doesn't really shed any light on Gandalf's character per se. I've read the appendices in Lord of the Rings. I don't really think that tells us much. But I haven't read everything in the world of Middle-earth, so maybe there's little hints and clues in other books as well. So we shall see. But I think it's pretty solid to say that he's one of the Maiar. That's the general consensus with most Lord of the Rings fans. Moving on to number 3, I'm going to talk about the others from A Song of Ice and Fire. You may know them as the White Walkers if you're a fan of the Game of Thrones television series. And you get a whole bunch of answers about the others in the TV series that aren't necessarily going to be the real answers we get if the books ever get finished. I've read all 5 books in the series so far. I know next to nothing about the others. Everything that I think I'm getting to know about them just leaves me with more questions. There is a mystique around them that just does not let up. And I think that's intentional on George's part. I don't think he wants to give us all the answers. He wants us to keep reading the series. And I don't know if we'll ever get all the answers around who the others are. I do know that he bases them on a mythical fae race known as the She, and that's really all I know. And I don't think learning about the She really is going to tell us much. He was inspired by the She to write them. That doesn't mean that they have any resemblance to that race. And even in stories of the Fae, there's different tellings, right? So we're just never going to know, except in the books. And even from the books, we may never know. It's hard to say. But I am fascinated with the others. I just absolutely love them. They're one of my favorite races in A Song of Ice and Fire, and I can't wait to find out more. And I really hope I get a chance to find out more about them. That is number 3. Number 2 is Tom Bombadil. Yes, I know another character from Lord of the Rings, but I can't help myself. Tom Bombadil is really mysterious, really, really fascinating. And he only plays a very bit part in The Lord of the Rings, and there is a short story collection titled The Adventures of Tom Bombadil that Tolkien wrote as well. I have not read that one yet. So the only thing I know about Tom Bombadil is what little we got in The Lord of the Rings. Him and his wife Goldberry, or at least I think she's his wife. There's not really a whole lot of information given about what they are. There's way more theories out there than actual information. That was probably intentional on Tolkien's part, because I don't think he intended Tom Bombadil to be a major character. But if you talk to any Lord of the Rings fan, even if they don't like Tom Bombadil, they're very curious as to who and what he actually is. And so some of the theories that I've read about Tom Bombadil are that he's a nature spirit, or that he's a physical embodiment of the music of the Ainur, or he's a nameless creation of Iluvatar, some type of protective spirit of sorts. And, he's always singing and talking in riddles and things like that. So we really never know exactly what he's like. And please don't go by the Rings of Power television series, because that version of Tom Bombadil I don't think has any basis in the actual mythos. There's bits and pieces that probably are, but I don't think in the show he's anything like Tolkien intended him to be. So don't go by that. Look up the theories for yourself. There's a lot of cool theories out there, and even still there's not a whole lot of information out there on those. It's very scant, but it's fun to read about. And I'm okay with not knowing a whole lot about Tom Bombadil, but I love him. I think he's an awesome character, and I really wish that they would have made him part of the Lord of the Rings movie. But they decided not to, and that's okay, I guess. And then the final one on this list, and this is going to come as no surprise to any Brandon Sanderson fans out there, we're going to talk about Hoid. By far the most mysterious character that I have ever read about in fiction has to be Hoid. And he goes by several names. He goes by Hoid, he goes by Sefrandius, he goes by Wit, he goes by Midius. I'm just completely baffled by him. He acts and reacts different in each book that he pops up in from Brandon Sanderson. And I know he was part of the original world where Adonalsium existed, but that's about all we really know for sure, because he does not ever tell a straight tale about himself. So you never know really anything about Hoid. And I think we will learn more as things go on. We learned a little bit in Wind and Truth as the Cosmere expands, which it is doing, and probably will for years and years and decades. I'm sure we will learn more about Hoid. At least I hope we do. The Cosmere is just getting way too big for its britches, I think. But that's my opinion. I have read every book in the Cosmere so far, every short story. I am still completely perplexed about Hoid. I know a few things, but even some of those things I'm like, is that really how it is? Or am I completely mistaken? Is Hoid just hoodwinking everybody and pulling the wool over our eyes? Who knows with that guy, right? So He is the most mysterious character I have encountered in fiction. There are other mysterious characters in fiction that I've read, but these are my top 10. These are the ones that stick out to me as the most mysterious. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what you thought. Let me know who some of your most mysterious characters are. And until next time, guys, I hope you read more books. I'll talk with you soon. And I'd like to give a huge shout out to all my patrons. Thank you so much for all the support you give my channel.